there, hi there, ho there. Now what are you screaming about? Oh, not that kosher animal thing again. It's not a kosher animal. It's not a kosher animal. When you get to be a kosher animal, send me an email. I know what happens to kosher animals. I'll find another way to elevate my animal nature. Thanks very much. I always thought I'd make a good cartoon character, having been blessed with a name that almost demands one. Do not, however, be fooled. I may look at this moment like just a big face. Don't you even. Or you either. But there's a cartoon body down there, and a right gewaltige body it is. I am, however, toying with the idea of borrowing one. Like this one, for example. Or this one. Good body. Ladies are impressed. With a body like this and money, I could finally get a date in this town. Being a cartoon character has numerous other advantages. For example, this backdrop was pretty good in its time, and this one was even better. But this is way better, and without benefit of blue screen. Check this out.
South Park eyes.
At long last, on the stage of Carnegie Hall. Back home. Only a cartoon character can juggle 4 guitars at once, and with no hands. More adventures from Toon World in future episodes. Now this. Speaking of the advantages of being a cartoon character, let's see that last bit again. Now this. Hey, even I can do that. And do. A cartoon bear, however, can do this. Now this. This segment was originally designated for the Radiojew's Revenge Last Word First-Year Review of the Obama administration. But that feature had to be bumped to our next episode when the story could get really stale in favor of a bigger and more important story. What, you may ask, could be a bigger story than the first year of our historic new presidential administration?
And will you be?
It's like this. When the Congress of the United States blows off their endless partisan upwind spitting contest and does something really right, the occasion is so newsworthy as to earn banner headlines worldwide. Typically, the mainstream media missed it, but Radiojew's Revenge is there with the story. Now, the question becomes, what, after the total failure to deliver any meaningful financial industry reform, after the miserable, disgraceful failure to pass health care reform, after sex scandals straight and gay beyond numbering, did these corrupt bozos do right? Mark your calendars, children. You'll want to remember this date. On Tuesday, 26 January 2K10, the U.S. House of Representatives voted unanimously, mind you, to bestow congressional honors on Lester Raymond Flatt, a move I hope is the first stage in the process of awarding the Congressional Medal of Freedom to this giant of American music. Disregard the pesky little fact that Mr. Flatt left this world 30 years ago. He still has it coming, and then some. Although Louise Scruggs would still have an unsuspecting world believe that her husband Earl, still alive and kicking by the way, invented all things bluegrass, Lester Flatt wrote and sang the songs. While their erstwhile mentor Bill Monroe remained the moody, brooding, high lonesome voice of the deep backcountry, Lester Flatt became the goodwill ambassador for Monroe's original musical inspiration and brought bluegrass out of its original place as the personal style of one bandleader to become an entire school of American musical expression. This format, alas, does not allow for a detailed recitation of the history of bluegrass and Mr. Flatt's part in it. There are books well worth reading, some of which with pieces of some of my old magazine articles in them, which will give you good history. Look them up. If anyone ever embodied the notion of the bigger they are, the nicer they are, it would be Mr. Lester Flatt, something to which your never-to-be-humble narrator can give first-hand testimony. I had the honor of meeting and interviewing Mr. Flatt during the last year of his life, and made what was probably the last published photograph of him. His health by that time was ruined, sadly, but his wit and graciousness were undimmed. He was as exemplary a Southern gentleman as ever sang. So when you're emailing your U.S. Senator to give reminder that your vote, not the lobbyists' money, put him/her in office, urge your senator to follow the singular, stellar example of the House and lay yet more congressional honors on the living memory of Lester Flatt. Now this.
I'm going to make heaven my home, sweet home. I'm left in this world.
a mountain. I was drinking some wine. I looked up in the heavens, Lord. I saw a mighty sign written, fire across the heaven, plain in black and white. Get prepared, boys and girls. There's going to be a big old rockin' birthday party for Mashiach tonight. Be there!
This week's Parsha is Parshas Yisro, what should have been my Bar Mitzvah Parsha, but that's a gripe for another time. Yisro is one of the niftiest Parshas in the Chumash, starting with Yisro's story and winding up with the Ten Commandments, then going on to the Haftarah, which is Isaiah at his best, and, important to Bar Mitzvah students, short. But that's another gripe for another time. What always stands out for me about the Torah reading is the description of the spiritual state of Bnei Yisrael in the days immediately preceding the receiving of the law. There's all manner of commentary going in all directions, but the quote that has always grabbed me is, Ki ish echad belev echad, like one person with one heart. For one golden moment, all the Jews in the world stood in one place like one people, and the result was one of the most pivotal events in human history. True, this was a generation which had stood eyewitness to revealed miracles of genuinely biblical magnitude. They had survived 10 plagues, walked out from under the mightiest empire of its time, crossed an impassable body of water on dry land, and were merrily chowing down on the man to top it all off. It was easy for that generation to believe. They were ready for redemption. Looking at this event, it becomes easier for us in our time to believe the teachings of the Baal HaTanya regarding the special holiness of the specifically Jewish godly soul. After all, history teaches us that the one time all the Jews in the world united as one people with no factions, no politics, no little momentary feuds, the result was the giving of the Torah, an event so profound in its implications as to have set the legal, moral, and ethical model for all of Western civilization to this very day, at least in theory. The implications for today's world are obvious. Unification invites redemption. And once again, the world's Jews may have to set the example. Good thing. At least we have some documented experience at it. True, we are more widely scattered than when our ancestors stood together at Sinai, but that generation did not have cell phones, email, or internet video. Certainly that generation would consider what we find commonplace in 5770 to be at least as miraculous as what they'd seen. When today's worldwide Jewish community returns to that place of unification and stops considering labels like Ashkenaz, Sfard, Orthodox, Conservative, Reform, Hasidic, Reconstructionist, Revisionist, totally secularized, fried-out cultural Jews, have I left anyone out? And remembers that we are one people united by one Torah, then our true and ultimate redemption becomes imaginable as tangible physical reality. At that point, Jews begin to truly fulfill the commandment to be a light unto the nations. That'll be when the rock and roll and music meets the rising shining sun. Till then, it's Gullus, the exile, the dreadful ongoing Jewish diaspora. But don't take just my word for it.
Gullus sucks! Gullus sucks! Gullus sucks! Gullus sucks! Sucks! Gullus sucks!